Collard. I'm the Learning and Development Coordinator here at Foster Care Association, and I have been in the role for about, I was telling the girls, 9 years, and prior to that worked in foster care. But this, I would also like to introduce Nisveta, who is the Better Futures Manager, and Annie, the Community Connections Practitioner, and they will talk about the Better Futures program in Victoria. So just to get us started, my understanding is that Better Futures program is a Victorian initiative that does help young people in care with support to transition to adulthood and a place to call home until their 21st birthday. I know several young people that I previously worked with that have definitely been able to access Better Futures and gained a lot through it. And, you know, talked about how successful it was. So, and Sam, our CEO, has also had experience and found it very helpful as well. So, so I guess, Annie, Nisveta, can you tell us how this works? As I believe its aim is to create stability and offer personal development to young people. And is there any eligibility criteria?
Absolutely. Thanks, Debbie. Better Futures came about in 2019. It is a statewide program funded by the Department of Families, Fairness and Housing. And the aim was in 2019 for Better Futures to be statewide and to replace then any existing other programs, such as the Springboard program and other living care programs. So the program is about working one-on-one with a young person from the age of 15, 9 months, all the way through to 21 years old. The young person must be at the time of referral or on their 16th birthday on a either family reunification order, a care by secretary order, long-term order, or a permanent care order, which came, the eligibility for permanent care order came quite late in the program. I think it was in 2021, the permanent care young people became eligible, which is fantastic. There is no exit in the program until the young person does turn 21. There are different levels of support. So there is active support, which is when Better Futures workers work one-on-one with the young person. And there's active hold when the young person does not engage, doesn't wish to engage, or they're doing really, really well and don't need a lot of support. And there's also limited support, which is short-term support. It's really important to reiterate the program is voluntary. So even though the referrals come automatically at 15 and 9 months by Child Protection through to the Better Futures provider, the program is voluntary and it's really based on the young person's engagement with their worker as well. In the program, we use the Advantage Thinking framework, which is really a strength-based framework. We'll look at what the young person can do as opposed to any deficits or what they can't do. We're focused on their strength, and it's really about, we don't do things for the young person. It's about doing them together and really holding the young person accountable, making them more independent, and supporting them through that, and supporting them through their choices. So it's really led by the young person, and their worker is there to guide them and support them. As well, we focus on 5 service offers, so housing, education, employment, health and wellbeing, and community connections, which is a community connector role within Better Futures, and Annie will talk about that more a little bit later. So when you sort of look at those 5 domains, is really a holistic approach, in a young person's lives or anybody's lives, really. So that's a little bit about Better Futures.
Oh, great. That's really good. It does cover a lot, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
One of the big things that sort of, as I was doing a little bit of research into it, should the carer raise the need to link in with Better Futures, say at the young person's care team before they're 16? I've since found a bit more, but you might be able to tell us a little bit about what that process is?
So what the guidelines are that child protection or contracted case management would usually foster care young people would have, kinship care young people would submit a referral through to their local Better Futures provider. However, I would encourage carers just to sort of flag it just in case, because we have found instances where the young person has sort of fallen through the gaps.
Yeah.
For permanent care young people, it is really important for PCAF to actually complete that referral. And usually how that happens, PCAF would send a letter to all the carers in Victoria, permanent carers, and say, there's Better Futures and you're, you might be eligible. Please let us know if you would like to be referred. Then the carer needs to go back to PCAF and let them know to refer. So that's the biggest difference between foster care, kinship care, and permanent care. Quite often, permanent carers don't have a worker, whereas a kinship placement would, or a foster care. And that's really important to make sure that that doesn't fall through the gaps. And contact PCF directly or contact us in Better Futures and we'll guide your way as well.
Oh, that's good to know, because I know, PCAF don't have that direct link, but carers can ring in directly, so that's good to know. Oh, great. Where can they actually access Better Futures? Is it like a one-stop shop, or is it across different divisions? And, how can the carer access that program?
So Better Futures, it has providers all over Victoria. I work for Open Door, and we service Western Melbourne, Macmelton area. And then I know CAVs that service Ballarat. So there is a local Better Futures provider in all the areas, and Child Protection would know who they are and would refer directly to them.
Penny,
so just to further explain that, in Central Highlands, which is where I'm located as a community connector, DFFH funds 3 local providers in our region. So that's CAFS, Child and Family Services, BADAC, so Ballarat and District Aboriginal Cooperative, and Ballarat Group Training, or BGT. And the Community Connector, which is my role, works across all 3. And young people get allocated to a local provider based on availability and proximity and where there are workers available, unless there's a special request where they've sort of sought out a specific provider, and that can happen as well.
Oh, that's good.
And also, just to make a note, if a young person does move between areas, Better Futures referrals would be transferred to the local area where they're residing as well. So Better Futures sort of goes with the young person where they go.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Look, this is an outside question, but I'm aware of a young person that got into, I think it was a paramedic course, but in New South Wales. So would that help still continue even though they're interstate?
Absolutely. So as long as they are or were on a Victorian order, Better Futures and Homestretch does support that young person. Obviously, if they're interstate, the service delivery might look, very different to somebody who's a young person that's local. But yes, that's states there as long as they're under Victorian order.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Oh, that's good. All right. So what sort of supports can the young person access?
So through Better Futures, and we'll talk a little bit after about Homestretch as well, it's those support with those 5 service offers I mentioned earlier. Each young person will get a worker that will work with them one-on-one on those specific 5 areas. We do have some flexible funding as well. It's not extensive, but it certainly helps. And that flexible funding can be used really with anything with those 5 service offers and the young person's goals. The young person will get coaching. They will get also community connections. So what Annie's role is, and each area in Victoria have their own community connector as well. So one-on-one support, secondary consult to other professionals. We can provide a consult to the carers. I think it's really important to make it clear that the workers work directly with the young people. Yes, the
Yes.
carers can certainly have an input, but it's really young. It's about the young person, and it's the young person driven.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. And it's good that the carer can actually have a consultation, because I'd imagine that, particularly in the beginning, it'd be great to have them encouraging the young person to sort of connect with the workers. So, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about each of those programs and what the key differences are between Better Futures and Homestretch, I suppose?
Yep. So Homestretch came about when the government recognised that at 18, quite a lot of young people are still sort of left homeless. Carers' payments for stopping at 18.
Yeah.
So there are two streams to Homestretch. Every young person when they turn 18 in Better Futures are eligible for Homestretch as long as they're engaging and as long as they do not return to their biological parents
Okay.
on their 18th birthday. And that will change soon as well. So they will be eligible in the next few months. But at the moment, that's how it stands.
Yeah.
There are two streams to Homestretch. One stream is if the young person is 18 and would like to live independently, then the Better Future provider receives additional funds from DFFH to help secure that young person, for example, a private rental, pay a portion of their rent, purchase furniture, pay a portion of their bills, etc. And that's up until 21, and the young person must engage. The other stream of that is if the young person would like to remain with their carer, so foster carer, kinship carer, permanent carer, after their 18th birthday, what happens then? Traditionally, those payments would have stopped by the FFH. Carers' payments, those payments will be continuing up until 21, but at a level 1, and they're directly paid by the department to the carer up until 21, as long as the young person engages and remains in that placement. If the young person, let's say, decides at 19 that would like to move out, then what we do, we stop those payments going to the carer and we convert it into the independent accommodation allowance.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you hope that they'll be able to stay with the carer long term, because we know, down the track that'll make a big difference. But hopefully, yeah, if knowing that there are those options there, if needed. Yeah, that's good. Great.
So that's the main difference between the two programs. Yeah, but Homestretch starts at 18. That's the main difference.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Because I know, a lot of kids, everything sort of ended when they turned 18, and we know, a lot of kids in care because of what they've gone through, they're a lot younger emotionally and they're immature in many ways, and having that bit of extra time makes all the difference. So that's good. This could be a question someone else asked, but down the track, if a carer is, say, on level 4 or something, is there any room for negotiation, or doesn't sound like?
It doesn't sound like it.
No.
Unfortunately, that's a DFFH rule, and the carers' payments do not come to the provider. They're automatically done through DFFH directly to the carer. So we don't actually get any say in the level, but level 1 has been determined. However, for permanent care young people, this is really, really important to ensure that the young person does engage, because the Better Futures provider applies for those payments on before their 18th birthday. So let's say if we get a referral for a young person that's 17 and 11 months, which happens, excuse me, and we can't get hold of them, and we keep on trying, they turn 18 and 1 month, we can no longer make sure that the carer gets those care payments. The
Okay.
young person would get the EAP, whereas Child Protection would set up the home-based care payments for all the other cohorts prior to their 18th birthday. So they have to be in the system prior to 18 years old for the carer to get those payments.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Yep. Yeah. I suppose on the other alternative, if they don't engage and they do get that, they could contribute, say, to board or something like that. But
Yeah.
hopefully, yeah, it
Absolutely.
can be the other way around. Oh, good. Fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit more about Better Futures, the what Community Connections is and what that covers?
Yeah, I'll jump in here.
Yeah, Annie. Yeah.
Nice to see you all. I saw you briefly at the start, but thanks for coming along, everybody. So I'll just give you a tiny bit of background on when I came into the role before I get into it. So I started at CAFS last year, which is located in Ballarat, in September. After 20 years of secondary teaching and student welfare at Indy College in Geelong. And so I'm still learning a lot about the sort of background funding side of things, hence Nisveta kindly answering most of those questions. My role as a community connector, so as Nisveta told you, it's one of the service components of Better Futures. So there's the coaching and mentoring that young people can access and do access through, for example, CAFS, BADAC and BGT in Ballarat. And then there is the funding that we've discussed already that they can use towards things like rent, utilities if they're on home stretch. And the third service component is community connections. So what that involves is just helping young people reach goals they have under those 5 domains of education, employment, housing, health and wellbeing, social connection, by linking young people in with opportunities in the community. So a big part of my role since September last year, being new to Ballarat, has been just getting out and about, meeting all the registered training organisations, all the people at different employment agencies, real estate agents, sports clubs, gyms, neighbourhood houses, and trying to make as many connections as I can and network, so that if a young person is referred to me by a coach wanting to, for example, explore a course in mechanics or wanting to volunteer somewhere or just wanting to, wanting a bit of support making friends, I know sort of where to guide them, and I can either work directly with them if I get that one-to-one referral and take them to a gym. I've taken a young person to try boxing, for example. I've taken a young person, what else did we do? We did a tour of a facility where they could study construction, and they've since signed up after that tour. So I helped them with the enrolment. But yeah, basically my role is really, really flexible, and I'm just another level of support on top of that coach who is their consistent, regular, day-to-day, week-to-week support. And yeah, I can also create exclusive group activities and workshops for groups of young people within Better Futures. And that's something I'm in the process of trying to get off the ground more here in Central Highlands by working together across the 3 different organisations, so CAFS, BGT and BADAC, to invite young people to workshops around areas of need, whether that's on problems you might face when renting a house. How do you budget so you can afford your groceries and your bills, things like that. So that's a little bit of an outline, but I'm open to more questions and I can give further examples later on.
And I think we have covered this a little bit, but what if the young person has moved out of the carer's home or is looking at doing that in the future, even to, say, attend university or TAFE or something that's out of that particular area? What kind of supports can you offer or link them into, particularly if they've got to move a bit of a distance away? I guess that'd be the ideal.
Yeah, so I think Nisveta already covered that we can, if we need to, transfer Well,
Mm.
in that case, if they're
Yeah.
moving out of care, then we would transfer their home stretch, home care situation to independent living. So that changes where that funding goes, and the
Yeah.
Better Futures practitioner would be brokering, things for the young person, rather than the carer receiving that allowance. In my role, I can do lots of things around moving, like supporting them. We can even use some funding towards removalists, to help them with that whole, or storage sheds and things like that. We've done that. I've done that here in Central Highlands. And just meeting young people and helping them see what's available at a university in terms of social groups and support they could access there, and just opening up their eyes to what they can tap into, if they are to move away from some of those supports, especially from a carer's house, where they've had a lot more, wraparound support. If they're stepping out into the real world, into university, like any young person doing that for the first time, just helping with guiding and walking alongside them, so they feel confident in doing so.
Oh, that's good. Because I'd imagine it'd be quite daunting, even just, being able to find, say, something like shared accommodation and
Oh yeah,
stuff like that. It's not an easy task at the best of times.
I love doing that kind of thing with young people. I think that's the great thing about our role. It is such a positive role as a coach and community connector. We're just another person they can lean on and that they can turn to, and be sort of role models and help them navigate some of these stresses in life that we've all gone through. I remember when we did the same things ourselves, and how stressful sharing a house is and things like that. So that's what we're there for.
Oh, great.
Mm.
And I know, you've talked about Better Futures program working directly, and I know it's with the young person rather than the carer. But what are the sort of things that maybe the carer could do to really help prepare that young person for that working relationship to develop? Is anything that, that the carer could do to get things started, sort of thing?
Yeah. I think it would be fabulous if the carers can really encourage the young people to engage. The workers are really flexible. We understand a lot of young people face anxiety. They might not want to leave the house. There's a whole heap of barriers that might be present there. So the workers are really flexible. It can be a phone call, could be a Zoom, could be a Teams, meeting at a cafe, meeting at the local McDonald's, potentially some organisations do home visits if there's 2 staff available. And trying different ways to engage that young person. In my discussions with a lot of the carers, sometimes we find there's a bit of worry from the carer. I just want to reiterate, we're not child protection. We are there to just offer that extra level of support, for your young person, so they can become independent, and to encourage them to start task themselves. So, for example, making doctor's appointments, filling in Centrelink applications, because our hope is by the time they're 21, they're going to be really independent. And hopefully some of the work that Better Futures does will actually assist the carers as well, them not having to do it as well. So really that encouragement, and we've done a lot of, evidence-based stats, and by far, if there's a relationship there with the worker, the outcomes are much, much better. As well. So, and if the carers ever are apprehensive or they want to know more about the program, feel free to reach out to your local Better Futures provider, because as a parent, it's quite daunting, to sort of get introduced to a new service. And quite often it's with the permanent carers as well. They haven't really had any agency involvement that are really sort of, new. Please feel free to reach out to your local Better Futures provider, find out more. And like that, you can encourage your young person to engage.
How can they find out which is their local one? Is they can get onto the website and
Yes, so there is
that'll
a DFFH website, Better Futures. Yeah, it lists all the Better Futures providers in the LGAs, but also child protection or kinship care worker, foster care worker
yeah,
should be able to tell them who they have referred the young
exactly.
person
Yeah,
to
that's
as
good.
well. And then they can, feel free to get in contact.
That's good. If, say, for instance, the young person maybe doesn't engage so well earlier on and drops out, can they re-engage as they get a little bit older?
Absolutely.
Obviously under 21, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the beauty of Better Futures, which sets it aside from, I think, every other program. In Victoria, there is no exit up until 21.
Oh, good.
So just different levels of support. So if we're trying to engage with a young person, they're not responding, we will put them on active hold, which means they're still on the worker's caseload, but the worker will touch base once every 3 months or a bit sooner to check in again on that young person until they're ready to engage. Or if the young person gives them a call, go, hey, I'm ready to engage, we can pick them up and start working with them. So they're going to be there on that caseload, and they will stay with that Better Futures provider up until 21, unless they transfer out of area and we transfer them.
Yeah.
But there's no early exit in the program, which is
Oh,
great.
that's good. Oh, that's good to know.
It is
And-
important they engage,
Yeah.
though. I think what
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nisveta, you have to correct me, but I believe if they haven't engaged at all within a certain period, it can affect carer payments. If it's more than
Absolutely.
6 months, is it, or something? You might want to
Absolutely. Look, the guidelines actually say 3 months. So with
3
home
months.
stretch, as I mentioned, there needs to be engagement. Same with the independent accommodation as well as the carer payments. So the
Oh,
Better
okay.
Future provider can actually pause those payments.
Oh, wow.
Because it can pause those payments if the young person doesn't engage. We don't do it, the first sort of week or two, or we don't really give it a lot of time,
Yeah.
because those payments cannot be reinstated. Home-based care payments cannot be
So
reinstated.
yeah,
And
just
it's really important.
And the engagement, remember, it doesn't have to be really heavy engagement. It can be as simple as a phone call or a Teams meeting.
Yeah,
Or, or you're having a quick coffee with the coach
absolutely.
just to check in, because sometimes young people might not feel like they need as much support because they're traveling pretty well, but we want them to keep that funding. So they still need to engage to make sure that that funding stays there. So just agreeing to meet for a cuppa or, a quick phone call is just really important. So that stays there. Yeah.
That's really good to know, because if the payment can be stopped, carers need to do everything they can to make sure that it happens.
Absolutely. And we don't do that lightly at all. And I think also it's what we've discussed today, it's important to know that's sort of a statewide approach, but different providers will do things differently as well. So it's not a consistent approach. So whatever sort of me and Annie are talking about, we're probably basing it on our own organisations. But other different Better Futures might do things slightly different.
Okay.
But we're talking about the actual policy of the program.
Yeah. No, that's good. We've been asked a question, and it's sort of relevant. Are young people on Better Futures automatically eligible for home stretch, or is it a separate application? And can a young person, might have already answered, not engaging with Better Futures be eligible for home stretch?
Okay, so home stretch sits under the same umbrella as Better Futures. Young people must be eligible for Better Futures to be eligible for home stretch. So if a young person doesn't engage in Better Futures, we can't get hold of them, we can't put an application in, because home stretch is based on engagement. So they need to engage in Better Futures in order for us to set that application for home stretch. For young people on all care orders, apart from permanent care orders, child protection or their contracted case management, so whether it's the Makila, Panglik, etc., they need to put the home stretch application in without endorsement. So the young person would already be engaging with us, but they need to start the application off and we endorse it based on that engagement with that young person, etc. For permanent care order young people, I mentioned it's so important for them to engage at the very beginning. The Better Futures provider puts that application in.
Oh, okay. All right. That's
And
good.
am I correct in that not everyone on Better Futures will necessarily go into home stretch depending on where they are at their 18th? Is that correct? Or have I got that wrong?
So the only young person that would not be eligible for home stretch at this stage would be somebody if they've returned to biological parents.
Yes,
yeah.
that's what I
if
was
they've
referring to.
returned, to the biological parents. Or
It's
obviously
rare.
somebody who we can't get hold of, we can't engage. Because in order for a home stretch application to go through and be approved by the department, we need to prove that the young person's engaging, because we're setting goals in that application with that young person. And we're setting what those goals might be. We're talking about the young person, what they want, what are their wishes, what are we going to use this allowance for?
Yes.
And without that young person, we can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
If that answers the question.
Yeah. No, that's good. Hopefully. And this might be more directed to Annie, but what if the young person is really struggling to identify where to and may have even dropped out of school? What can be offered to them?
There's so much, and that's often when a community connector referral might occur. I mean, first, the coach is going to be working with the young person around those goals of education and future planning. But if they're really stuck, they might get a referral for one-to-one added support with me. And my first thing that I'll do is just get to know the young person and try and figure them out a bit, build some rapport, work out what drives them, what are their interests. We might explore first just social activities and so that'll help me identify their strengths. I took one young person to a men's shed and discovered as we were touring around that he was really handy and that he'd built all this stuff, and that was a 5-minute walk from his house. So then we could have conversations just through that interaction around, you could tinker around in here, make some connections. There's so many different educational opportunities out there now, like flexible learning, online learning, places like Indie College where I used to work, that don't require 5 days a week face-to-face education. So they're things that a community connector or coach can explore with young people. They can discuss those ideas with them. They can take them for a tour of all those places. Link them in. I've linked a few kids in with Fed Uni's Jobs Skills Centre that offer different programs such as Reconnect, which is set up for exactly this, trying to re-engage disengaged young people and help them figure out what they want to do. It's another level of support, another mentor, someone that checks in by phone. It's a free service. There's heaps out there, and it's just a matter of, I think, meeting the young person, getting to know them, just having some casual chats to help them navigate that. So it's all about that first chance to connect. And often I think sometimes young people with parents or carers, they don't want to be told by those people because they're so close. So it's just sometimes encouraging them and getting them over the line to meet that community connector or actually face-to-face meet the coach. And hopefully they'll make some inroads to be able to help them figure out. I mean, it's something that a lot of us still don't figure out when we're in our 40s and 50s. It's just a matter of conversation and exploring, I think.
Oh, definitely. And it takes, sometimes you've got to have a little bit of life experience to really know what you want to do. So
and there's lots of volunteer opportunities we can connect them in with, young people, and So.
Oh, that's good. So we've just, in regards to that previous question, so does that mean if a young person was never enrolled in Better Futures, they can't then apply for home stretch after they've turned 18?
then they would need to be referred to Better Futures. So it's very rare that we see young people over the age of 18 not already being referred to Better Futures. More often than not, we see that in a permanent care scenario.
Yeah.
So what would happen? We would just receive a late referral to Better Futures from Permanent Care Adoptive Families Australia, and then we would progress that into a home-based home stretch application for independent, because if they're already over 18, we cannot apply for home-based care payments.
Yeah, okay. So so in answer to the question, definitely you can apply later, but it will be as an independent application.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
if they're eligible for Better Futures. So if they meet those other criteria.
Yeah, just on
around
those
the
orders and things.
orders,
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
Mm.
And we will do a background check with the FFH around that. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good. Hopefully that makes sense now. That's good. Now, were there any other questions or any other information that you wanted that we've missed? I know that maybe some success stories or anything like that.
Yeah, we've actually had our open door. We celebrated our 40th anniversary last week, and we had a young person for Better Futures that's exited quite a number of years ago. Was with Better Futures for 5-6 years. Came to us, a child protection for a lot of barriers. Lived in residential care, moved from unit to unit, was homeless, domestic violence, AOD issues. And we worked with her for a number of years on all those barriers. And she gave a speech last week, and she is 24 now. She has a child. She has a home. She's opened up her own business.
Yeah.
She's really successful. She's happy. She's a great mum. So what a beautiful transition to see into. And she said, she really didn't. She didn't have hope. The workers were there. Just somebody extra who believed in her. So that was really a highlight. That just happened last week. So we've had other young people who've we supported them opening up their own personal training businesses.
Wow.
Yeah. We've have a young, and every time I drive around Melbourne and I see a real estate board with our young person's name on it. So she wanted to be a real estate agent. We funded her cause. We organised work experience, and she's working now as a senior manager for Ray White. So every time I see her name, it really brings a smile to my face.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
And it is, and reflecting back, it is that engagement.
Yes.
It really is that engagement. Yeah.
And that's really, I think, knowing that they can contact you, but the carer to get some guidance as well. I think that would be very helpful, and also just encouraging the young person to, just have a simple cuppa or go to McDonald's or something like that might not be so hard, and go with someone they know.
Yeah.
At least for that initial meeting.
Absolutely.
That'd work. So that's really good.
And that's the beauty of Better Futures. It is very flexible as opposed to, and I often say, young people turning 18, they'll have to go to Centrelink appointments, they will have to go to their job provider to get their payments, they will have to go. So Better Futures on the flip side is so flexible. Centrelink is not going to meet them anywhere else but their office, So, sort of who need that or an interest. I've had workers go take young people to do their nails, for example. A young person, it's an engagement, or going for a drive, or whatever the engagement is. I've got another worker who plays basketball regularly, goes to the gym once a week with one of the young people, just to build that engagement. So it can look, as long as it's safe, it can look, many different ways.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right. Well, we might stop recording here and then open up for any questions. All right.
That's a good question. I just saw that question pop up.